The Defiance hung motionless against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling storms, its nuclear drives cooling after the latest patrol. Inside the Combat Information Center, Admiral Jessica Walker observed the massive holographic display showing Earth's combined fleet exercises. 37 ships, from agile corvettes to the imposing bulk of carriers, maneuvered in perfect formation. Not bad for a primitive species, she thought. The incoming transmission alert shattered the quiet efficiency of the CIC. Lieutenant James Sullivan's fingers danced across his console, decoding the signal. "Admiral, it's from an unknown contact, bearing 035, just beyond Saturn's orbit. Energy signature. Nothing like we've ever seen." Walker straightened, her former Navy SEAL training evident in her precise movements. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, revealing a vessel that seemed to defy physics. It gleamed like liquid metal, its hull rippling with patterns of light that hurt the eyes. No visible engines, no apparent weapons, yet it radiated power in a way that made every sensor operator on the bridge catch their breath. "Multiple contacts," Sullivan reported, his voice steady despite the tension. 17 vessels, similar configurations. They're not even trying to hide their approach. "Because they don't think they need to," Walker murmured. She recognized the behavior. She'd seen it in countless operations planetside. The confidence of technological superiority that often preceded a fatal mistake. The alien transmission burst to life on the main screen. The being that appeared looked almost like a sculpture of flowing crystal, its translucent form refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. When it spoke, its words were flawlessly translated, dripping with an aristocratic condescension that made Walker's jaw tighten. "To the governing authorities of the Sol System's primitive fleet, I am Ambassador Atilthar of the Galactic Confederation. We have observed your quaint attempts at space travel with some amusement." Walker felt the temperature in the CIC drop several degrees as her crew absorbed the insult. She kept her face neutral, even as her mind raced through tactical scenarios. The ambassador continued, each word carefully chosen to wound. "Your reliance on chemical propulsion and nuclear fission is charming, if woefully outdated. And your weapons, physical projectiles. We abandoned such crude methods millennia ago. For your own safety, and the safety of civilized space, we must insist you remain within your solar system until you develop proper antimatter drives and energy-based armaments." Commander Diana Reynolds, Walker's tactical officer, leaned close to whisper, "They're scanning us, ma'am. Deep penetrating scans, but they're only looking for energy signatures and radiation patterns." A slight smile tugged at Walker's lips. Of course they were. They'd expect any advanced civilization to use their type of technology. It was the same kind of assumption that had cost lives in every war she'd studied. The belief that there was only one path to victory. "Ambassador," Walker responded, her voice carrying the quiet authority that had led her through countless battle scenarios. "We appreciate your concern for our development. Rest assured, we will take your advice under consideration." The crystalline being seemed to shimmer with satisfaction at what it perceived as submission. "Very wise. We will establish a monitoring station at the edge of your system to ensure compliance. For your own good, of course." As the transmission ended, the CIC erupted in angry murmurs. Walker raised a hand, and silence fell immediately. Lieutenant Sullivan began passive tracking of their fleet. "Commander Reynolds, I want a full analysis of their scanning capabilities, especially what they're not looking for, and get me a secure line to United Space Command. I believe it's time to accelerate Project Phantom." Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, but she could see the burning question in their eyes. Walker smiled, the kind of smile that had preceded some of her most successful SEAL operations. "They think they're looking at primitive survivors, barely worth their notice," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the CIC. "Let's show them why that's the most dangerous assumption they could make." As her crew returned to their duties with renewed purpose, Walker turned back to the holographic display. The alien ships glowed like beacons against the void, their every movement screaming their presence to anyone who could see. They had no idea that their greatest advantage, their advanced technology, would soon become their greatest weakness. The hunt was about to begin. 3 months later, Jupiter Defense Zone. The emergency alert jolted Admiral Walker from her strategic planning session. The holographic display in her ready room shifted to show the mining outpost on Europa, where desperate calls for help flooded the communication channels. Multiple hostile contacts. The station commander's voice crackled through static. They just appeared out of nowhere. Energy weapons unlike anything we've seen. They're targeting our shield generators. Walker was already moving, her boots clicking against the deck plates as she strode into the CIC. Lieutenant Sullivan's hands flew across his console, bringing up tactical displays. Pirates, ma'am. Using Confederation-level technology. 3 vessels targeting the civilian infrastructure. Show me their attack pattern, Walker ordered, her eyes narrowing as she studied the formation. The pirates moved with the arrogance of predators who'd never faced real resistance, their ships blazing with energy signatures from their antimatter drives. Commander Reynolds appeared at her side, tablet in hand. They're broadcasting their demands on all frequencies. They want the station's refined metals and deuterium reserves. The Confederation's monitoring station is conveniently not responding. Of course they're not, Walker muttered. She'd expected this. The Confederation's patronizing suggestion to stay in their solar system had been a thinly veiled attempt to keep humanity vulnerable. Status of Operation Phantom Strike. Ghost Squadron is in position, Reynolds replied with a predatory smile. The Wraith, Spectre, and Poltergeist are running silent, nuclear drives at minimal output. The pirates haven't detected them. They're too busy looking for energy signatures. Walker nodded, remembering the countless hours spent perfecting their stealth protocols. Earth's ships, deemed primitive by the Confederation, had been modified to run nearly invisible. Their nuclear drives, operating at bare minimum power, produced heat signatures barely distinguishable from background radiation. Their hulls, coated with metamaterials developed for submarine warfare, absorbed rather than reflected sensor pings. Launch sequence initiated, Sullivan announced. Ghost Squadron reports weapons hot. Railguns charged and targeting solutions locked. Walker watched the tactical display, where the pirate vessels continued their assault on Europa Station, completely unaware of the 3 Earth ships sliding into position. The pirates' energy shields flickered brilliantly, designed to repel plasma weapons and laser fire, but utterly useless against what was coming. Execute, Walker commanded. The first railgun round struck at 30% light speed, a depleted uranium penetrator that passed through the lead pirate ship shields, as if they didn't exist. The round punched through the vessel's antimatter containment field, and the resulting explosion lit up Jupiter's night side like a new moon. The remaining pirates frantically scanned for their attackers, their sensors seeking energy weapons that didn't exist, shield impacts that never came. Their confusion lasted exactly 3 seconds before the second volley struck. Direct hits, Sullivan reported with professional satisfaction. 2 hostile vessels disabled, 1 completely destroyed. No casualties among the civilian population. Walker allowed herself a small smile as she watched the disabled pirate ships drift helplessly, their once mighty energy weapons powerless against simple kinetic force. Send in the boarding teams. I want their navigation data. Let's find out where these raiders came from. Hours later, Walker stood before the United Space Command Council, delivering her report. The holographic faces of Earth's military leadership listened intently as she laid out her findings. The pirates' base of operations is here. She indicated a point well beyond Neptune's orbit. They've been using Confederation technology to raid multiple systems, always targeting those the Confederation deems too primitive to protect. Their over-reliance on energy-based technology makes them blind to our approach vectors. Admiral Thompson, the gruff head of Special Operations, leaned forward. You're suggesting we take the fight to them. I'm suggesting we show them why underestimating Earth was their first and last mistake, Walker replied. Our ships can strike anywhere in their territory. They'll never see us coming, never detect our weapons until it's too late. We're not just going to defend our space. We're going to make the void itself fear us." The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity, dismissed as primitive, had inadvertently developed the perfect countermeasures to the galaxy's most advanced technology. Operation Phantom Strike is just the beginning, Walker concluded, her voice filled with quiet certainty. "It's time to show the stars that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to turn every disadvantage into a weapon." As she finished speaking, reports began flowing in from the outer system. More pirate raids, more civilian targets, but this time, Earth was ready. In the darkness between the stars, Ghost Squadron's nuclear drives flickered to life, barely a whisper against the cosmic background. The hunt was on. The asteroid belt, pirate stronghold Havens Point. 6 weeks after first strike, Lieutenant James Sullivan studied the sensor readings aboard the Wraith, his expression grim. "Confirmed, Admiral. 23 hostile vessels, all powered by antimatter drives. Their energy signatures are lighting up the belt like a Christmas tree." Admiral Walker stood at the tactical display, watching the pirate fleet cluster around their asteroid base, Havens Point, a massive rock 3 kilometers wide, hollowed out and fortified with the most advanced Confederation technology credits could buy. Its surface bristled with energy weapon emplacements and shield generators. "They're scared," Commander Reynolds observed, noting the tight defensive formation. "That's why they've gathered so many ships. The stories about phantom attacks have them jumping at shadows." Walker nodded. In the weeks since Operation Phantom Strike began, Earth's fleet had struck a dozen pirate outposts. No warnings, no demands, just silent death from the void. The pirates' response was predictable. They consolidated their forces, seeking safety in numbers, exactly as planned. "Ghost Squadron, sound off," Walker commanded over the encrypted channel. "Spectre, combat ready. Poltergeist, weapons hot. Banshee, awaiting orders. Revenant, in position." 5 ships running dark against the asteroid field's background radiation. Their nuclear drives cooled to near ambient temperature, their hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. The pirates' sensors, designed to detect energy weapons and shield impacts, swept right past them. "Execute Phase 1, Walker ordered. Across the void, modified probes launched from Earth's ships. Designed to mimic common space debris, they drifted toward Havens Point on ballistic trajectories. Each carried a shaped nuclear charge, their warheads shielded from detection by the same metamaterials that cloaked Earth's vessels. "Energy spike," Sullivan reported suddenly. "They're powering up their main defense grid." Walker smiled. "Right on schedule. Begin Phase 2. The first hint the pirates had of their doom was a series of synchronized explosions across Havens Point's surface. The shaped nuclear charges detonated with surgical precision, their force directed inward through the asteroid's weak points. Shield generators flickered and died as their power conduits ruptured. "Shields down," Reynolds announced. "Their defensive grid is in chaos. They're trying to reroute power, but their systems are overloaded. All ships, execute Phase 3, Walker commanded. "Weapons free. Show them what primitive technology can do." The 5 Earth vessels emerged from their hiding spots like wolves from the shadows. Their railguns, charged to maximum capacity, unleashed hell. Depleted uranium rounds accelerated to relativistic speeds, tore through the pirate fleet's formations. Ships designed to withstand energy weapons found their hulls punctured by projectiles. Their shields couldn't stop. "Multiple direct hits," Sullivan reported, his voice steady as the battle unfolded. 8 hostile vessels disabled, 5 completely destroyed. They're trying to return fire, but their targeting systems can't get a lock on our position. Walker watched as the pirate fleet scattered in panic. Their energy weapons lit up space with brilliant beams that passed harmlessly through the void, unable to track Earth's ships through their stealth systems. Each time they fired, they only made themselves more visible to the human gunners. Detecting escape attempts, Reynolds called out, "3 ships are spinning up their FTL drives." "Not today," Walker replied. Revenant, Banshee, closed the net. The 2 Earth ships had positioned themselves at the asteroid belt's primary departure vectors. Their railguns spoke again, the hypersonic rounds shredding the fleeing vessel's engine sections. The pirates' antimatter containment fields collapsed, turning their ships into miniature suns. Within 20 minutes, it was over. Havens Point's defenses lay in ruins, its surviving ships drifting helplessly through space. The mighty pirate fortress, once considered impregnable, had fallen to primitive human weapons. "Begin boarding operations," Walker ordered. "I want their databases, their navigation logs, everything. And get me a channel to the survivors." When the communication link opened, Walker addressed the defeated pirates directly. "This is Admiral Walker of Earth's Space Command. Your base is destroyed, your ships disabled. You thought us primitive, fought our technology beneath your notice. That mistake cost you everything." She paused, letting the message sink in. "Spread the word to your friends in the void. Earth's fleet is hunting, and all your advanced technology, all your energy shields and antimatter drives, won't save you. You can't fight what you can't see, can't stop what you can't detect. Remember this day. Remember what humanity's lesser Armada did to you." As her ships secured the pirate base, Walker received a priority message from Earth Command. More raids reported along the Confederation's trading routes. More targets, more opportunities to demonstrate humanity's deadly efficiency. The hunt would continue. Confederation trade route. Deep space. 2 months after Havens Point. The merchant vessel Golden Dawn drifted silently through the void, its antimatter drive cold and dead. Captain Nectar stood on his bridge, his crystalline form dimmed with fear as he watched another ship disappear from his sensors. 3rd one this week. The pirates were getting bolder or more desperate. His communications officer's voice crackled through the ship's internal network. "Captain, incoming transmission. It's from an Earth vessel." Nectar's crystalline structure brightened immediately. "Put them through. Now." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Admiral Walker's composed features. "Golden Dawn, this is the U.S. Wraith. We've received reports of pirate activity in this sector. Do you require assistance?" "Admiral Walker." Nectar's relief was palpable. "Your timing is impeccable. We've lost contact with 3 ships in our convoy. The Confederation patrols are delayed." "As usual," Walker replied, her voice carrying a hint of steel. "We've been tracking a pirate group through this sector. My fleet is in position to escort you to the next jump point." Lieutenant Sullivan's voice cut through the command channel. "Multiple contacts, Admiral. 5 vessels, heavily armed, dropping out of FTL on an attack vector." Walker's expression remained calm as she addressed the merchant captain. "Cut your engines and maintain position, Captain Nectar. We'll handle this." The pirate ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in a blaze of energy signatures, their weapons already charging. They expected easy prey. A disabled merchant vessel, ripe for plunder. Their sensors showed nothing else in the region. That was their last mistake. Ghost Squadron materialized from the void like avenging spirits. The Wraith, Spectre, and Poltergeist had been shadowing the trade route for days, their presence masked by their primitive technology. The pirates never saw the killshots coming. Railgun rounds moving at relativistic speeds shredded through their shields, puncturing antimatter containment vessels and turning 3 ships into expanding clouds of plasma. The remaining 2 vessels attempted to flee, their engines flaring bright enough to blind sensors. "Textbook ambush," Commander Reynolds reported with satisfaction. 2 hostiles attempting emergency FTL jump. Walker keyed her comm. "Banshee, Revenant, they're all yours." The fleeing pirates discovered too late that their escape route was already covered. 2 more Earth vessels to cloak directly in their path, their railguns already firing. The battle ended in seconds, leaving nothing but debris and disabled hulks floating in the void. Broadcast on all frequencies, Walker ordered. Let's make sure everyone hears this. Her message echoed across the sector's communication channels. This is Admiral Walker of Earth's Space Command. To all merchants and civilian vessels, the Confederation may have abandoned these trade routes, but we have not. Any ship requiring escort need only ask. To the pirates who prey on the innocent, you cannot hide from us. You cannot fight what you cannot see. The void belongs to Earth now. In the following days, the story spread across the galactic trading networks. Merchants began requesting Earth escorts by name, willing to pay premium rates for the protection of Walker's primitive fleet. The Confederation's official protests fell on deaf ears as more shipping companies aligned themselves with humanity's growing influence. Back aboard the Wraith, Walker reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Lieutenant Sullivan had compiled data from dozens of captured pirate vessels, revealing a pattern that confirmed her suspicions. The attacks are coordinated, she explained to her command staff. These aren't just random raids. Someone in the Confederation is supplying these pirates, using them to maintain control over the trade routes. Commander Reynolds studied the data. The core worlds. They're trying to keep the frontier systems dependent on their protection. A protection they consistently fail to provide, Walker noted. But their strategy has backfired. Every failed raid, every lost pirate ship, every saved merchant vessel pushes more of the galaxy into Earth's orbit. Sullivan's console chimed with new alert messages. Speaking of which, Admiral, we've received 16 new escort requests in the last hour alone. The merchant guilds are starting to organize regular convoys under Earth protection. Walker smiled, remembering the Confederation's dismissive attitude toward humanity's primitive fleet. Their technological arrogance had created the perfect opportunity for Earth to establish itself as a major power in the galaxy. Plot a course to meet the next convoy, she ordered. The Confederation wanted us to stay in our solar system, play by their rules. Instead, we're rewriting the rules of space warfare. And we're just getting started. As the Wraith moved to its next patrol zone, Walker reflected on how far they'd come. The galaxy had learned to fear Earth's invisible hunters, but they hadn't seen anything yet. The real war for humanity's place among the stars was just beginning. New Genesis Colony, Confederation Space, 4 months into the campaign. The emergency transmission cut through all channels like a knife. This is New Genesis Colony. We are under heavy attack. 40+ hostile vessels. Our shields are failing. Any Confederation vessels, please respond. In the Wraith's CIC, Lieutenant Sullivan's hands flew across his console. Admiral, the colony's defenses are collapsing. The pirates. This is different. They've brought a war fleet. Admiral Walker studied the tactical display, where 47 pirate vessels surrounded the wealthy colony. Their formation was professional, methodical, nothing like the usual raider tactics. They're not pirates, she said quietly. This is a statement. They're trying to prove that Earth's protection means nothing. Commander Reynolds nodded grimly. Confederation response time. 4 hours minimum, Sullivan reported. We can be there in 20 minutes, Walker decided. Signal the fleet. All ships, Combat Protocol Echo 7. The Wraith's nuclear drive hummed to life, joined by 20 other Earth vessels, the largest concentration of human warships ever assembled outside Sol. They'd been waiting for something like this, a chance to demonstrate their full capabilities. New Genesis's orbital space blazed with energy weapons as the pirate fleet hammered the colony's shields. Their commander, watching the defenses crumble, allowed himself a smile of satisfaction. The message would be clear. Only the Confederation could provide real protection. His sensor officer's scream was the first warning. Earth's fleet materialized from the void like a nightmare. 21 ships, running dark until the last possible moment. their stealth systems making them invisible until they were already inside the pirates' formation. The void erupted with thunder that couldn't be heard. Multiple targets acquired, Sullivan called out. Ghost Squadron, executing Pattern Sierra. Phantom Division, moving to Vector 3. Shadow Team, commence electronic warfare. The pirates' sophisticated targeting systems suddenly went blind as electromagnetic pulses, specifically tuned to their frequencies, turned their sensor networks to static. Their tight formation, designed to concentrate fire on the colony, now made them perfect targets. Launch the Phantoms, Walker ordered. Hundreds of stealth drones deployed from Earth's ships, their small nuclear drives making them nearly impossible to detect. They carried no weapons. They were the weapons, each one packed with shaped charges designed to penetrate shields and detonate against hull plating. The pirates attempted to regroup, their energy weapons firing wildly into space. But they were fighting an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, couldn't predict. Railgun rounds from multiple vectors shattered their largest vessels. Stealth drones slipped through their shields like ghosts through walls, their explosions precise and devastating. "They're trying to flee," Reynolds reported, watching the tactical display, breaking into smaller groups. "Not today," Walker replied. "Execute Maneuver Thunderstrike." Earth's fleet moved with practiced precision, their formation expanding like a deadly flower. Years of naval tactics, adapted for three-dimensional space warfare, paid off as they herded the panicking pirates into killing zones. Ships trying to dodge railgun fire ran straight into clouds of stealth drones. Those who survived the drones found their exits blocked by waiting Earth vessels. In the colony's command center, the Confederation governor watched in awe as humanity's primitive fleet systematically dismantled what should have been an overwhelming force. His sensors couldn't even track half of what was happening. Only the results, as pirate ships died or went dark. "Admiral," Sullivan called out, detecting a Confederation battle group entering the system. "They're still 3 hours out, but they're monitoring the battle." Walker smiled. "Perfect. Send them our regards. And make sure their sensors get a good look at what primitive technology can do." The battle ended not with a dramatic explosion, but with silence. Of the 47 pirate vessels that had attacked New Genesis, 32 were destroyed outright. The remaining 15 drifted powerless, their crews surrendering to Earth's boarding parties. Walker opened a channel to the colony. "New Genesis, this is Admiral Walker. Your space is secured. We'll maintain patrol until the Confederation forces arrive. Late, as usual." The governor's response was immediate. "Admiral, the Confederation Council needs to know about this. Your fleet's capabilities." "They're about to learn," Walker replied, watching her crews begin rescue operations. The galaxy thought humanity needed to advance before joining galactic society. Instead, we've redefined what advancement means. In the hours that followed, as the Confederation battle group finally arrived to find the battle long over, reports of the engagement spread across colonial space. Humanity's lesser armada had achieved what the galaxy's most advanced fleet couldn't. The balance of power had shifted, and everyone knew it. The age of energy weapons and antimatter drives was over. The time of silent hunters had begun. Confederation Central Council, Crystalline City. 1 week after the New Genesis battle, the council chamber erupted in chaos as the holographic replay of the New Genesis battle concluded. Admiral Vex Khan, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light, slammed his manipulator against the podium. "These barbarians use weapons of mass destruction," he roared. "Kinetic strikes, nuclear devices. They're a danger to civilized space." From her position at the witness stand, Admiral Walker remained perfectly composed. The Confederation had demanded her appearance to explain Earth's military actions, expecting submission. Instead, they'd gotten a front-row seat to their worst nightmare. "Interesting," she replied, her voice carrying through the chamber. "When pirates wielded your energy weapons against civilian targets, that was acceptable. When they used your antimatter drives to raid colonies, that was part of frontier life. But when we stopped them with our primitive technology, suddenly there's concern for safety. The Merchant Guild representatives, seated in their own section, murmured in agreement. Their spokesman, Captain Nectar, rose to address the council. The Earth fleet has achieved what your patrols could not, he declared. Trade route attacks have dropped by 70% in sectors under human protection. Their methods may be unconventional, but their results are undeniable. Walker watched the political battle unfold. The council chamber had divided itself physically. The core world representatives clustered together, their crystalline forms glowing with indignation, while the frontier colonies and merchant guilds gathered on the opposite side. Lieutenant Sullivan's voice whispered through her earpiece. "Admiral, the Wraith reports movement from the Confederation's First Fleet. They're conducting exercises near Earth's trade routes." A smile touched Walker's lips. Predictable. The core worlds were falling back on military intimidation, their usual response to challenges to their authority. Admiral Vexicon wasn't finished. These humans hide in the dark like predators. They strike without warning, without honor. Their very presence destabilizes the established order. The established order. A new voice cut through the chamber. Governor Kexhall of New Genesis Colony stood, his form shimming with determination. "My colony would have fallen if not for Earth's predators. While your fleet was hours away, they saved thousands of lives. The old order failed us. Perhaps it's time for a new one." Walker stepped forward, her voice steady. "You called us primitive because our technology didn't match yours. You never considered that we might have chosen our path deliberately. Every weapon we use, every tactic we employ, was developed through centuries of warfare and necessity. We didn't adopt your methods because we had already found better ones." The chamber fell silent as she continued. "You built your ships to be seen, to project power through visibility. We built ours to survive, to protect, to hunt those who threaten the innocent. Your energy weapons are magnificent, impressive, and completely useless against threats you can't detect. Your antimatter drives shine like beacons, while our nuclear engines let us move unseen." She gestured to the holographic replay. New Genesis wasn't just a battle. It was a demonstration. Humanity doesn't need to advance to your level. We've already surpassed it. The only question is whether you're willing to accept that reality. The council erupted again, but this time the shouting came from both sides. Frontier colonies demanded increased autonomy in their defense arrangements. Merchant guilds threatened to exclusively contract Earth ships for protection. Core worlds called for sanctions, only to be reminded how many of their luxury goods came through human-protected trade routes. Commander Reynolds' voice came through Walker's earpiece next. "Admiral, we're detecting increased military activity across Confederation space. The core worlds are mobilizing their fleets." Walker acknowledged the report silently, watching the political chaos unfold. The Confederation was fracturing along its existing fault lines, and humanity's success had been the hammer blow that split it open. "This council is in recess." The chief administrator's voice boomed through the chamber. "We will reconvene when order is restored." As the representatives filed out, still arguing, Captain Nectar approached Walker. "They're afraid," he said quietly. "Not of your weapons, but of what you represent. Change. The end of their technological supremacy." Walker nodded. "They should be afraid, but not of our weapons." She turned to face the departing council members. "They should fear what happens when the rest of the galaxy realizes that advancement doesn't always mean following the same path. Sometimes, it means finding your own way through the darkness." Behind her, the holographic display continued to replay the Battle of New Genesis, where humanity's primitive fleet had rewritten the rules of warfare. The old order was crumbling, and from its ruins, a new balance of power would emerge. Confederation Emergency Session. Crystalline City. 2 days after the council recess. The emergency meeting chamber hummed with tension as Admiral Vexicon presented his ultimatum. Holographic displays showed the Confederation's First Fleet, nearly 300 warships, assembled in battle formation near the Sol system's outer boundary. "The human question ends now," he declared, his crystalline form blazing with righteous fury. "Either they submit to proper oversight and weapons restrictions, or we quarantine their entire system. No trade, no travel, no communication." Admiral Walker sat calmly in the observation gallery, surrounded by representatives from the frontier colonies and merchant guilds. They'd been invited to witness humanity's submission. Instead, they were about to witness something very different. Lieutenant Sullivan's voice whispered through her secure comm. "All units confirm ready, Admiral. Operation Looking Glass is live." Walker stood, her movement drawing all eyes in the chamber. "Before you vote on this proposal, the Council should be aware of certain tactical realities." She nodded to Sullivan, who activated a new holographic display, the chamber filled with tactical data, showing the positions of Confederation fleet elements throughout their space. But there was something else, something that made Admiral Vexcon's crystalline form pale to near transparency. What are these signatures?" he demanded. "Earth vessels," Walker replied simply, "deployed throughout Confederation space over the past 6 months, currently maintaining position near every major core world, fleet anchorage, and strategic installation." The chamber erupted in shock as the data resolved itself. Human ships, running silent with their primitive technology, had slipped through the most sophisticated detection grids in the galaxy. They lurked in asteroid fields, hid in planetary rings, drifted in the shadow of gas giants, invisible predators waiting for the order to strike. Commander Reynolds, standing beside Walker, activated a secondary display. "This is the Phantom, currently stationed 2 light minutes from the Confederation capital. The Revenant, holding position near your antimatter fuel production facilities. The Spectre, shadowing your First Fleet's flagship." "Impossible," Vexcon sputtered. "Our sensors would have detected." "Your sensors." Walker's voice carried a hint of amusement. "The same sensors that can't detect kinetic weapons, that can't track nuclear-powered ships running silent. The same technology you called primitive." She stepped forward, addressing the entire council. "While you were busy mocking our technological level, we were learning your blind spots. Every time you dismissed us as savages, we were finding new ways through your defenses. Your energy shields are impressive, and completely useless against what we can do." The tactical display updated, showing simulated firing solutions. Each Earth vessel had multiple targets plotted, prioritizing critical infrastructure and military assets. The message was clear. Any move against Sol would trigger devastating counterstrikes throughout Confederation space. "This is barbaric," one council member shouted. "You're threatening our civilian populations." "No," Walker corrected firmly. "We're demonstrating why technological arrogance is dangerous. Every target is military or strategic. We've had months to plan precision strikes that would cripple your ability to make war while minimizing civilian casualties. Because unlike some, we remember what war really means." Sullivan's voice came through her comm again. "Admiral, the First Fleet is breaking formation. They're deploying into defensive positions around the core worlds." Walker allowed herself a small smile. "You have a choice. Continue with this quarantine plan and find out exactly how effective your defenses are against an enemy you can't detect. Or we can try something new." "What do you propose?" The chief administrator's voice was cautious, measured. "Partnership," Walker replied. "Real partnership. Not patronizing oversight, not technological restrictions. Earth joins the Confederation as equals, bringing our different approaches, our different solutions. We've proved we don't need your technology to be effective. Now imagine what we could achieve by working together." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The core world's representatives huddled together, their forms flickering with agitation as they whispered urgently. Finally, Admiral Vexicon spoke, his voice heavy with resignation. "The First Fleet will withdraw from Sol's border. The Council requests a recess to consider Earth's proposal for equal membership. Walker nodded graciously, but her eyes were steel. A wise choice. Remember this moment, because it's more than just a negotiation. It's the day the galaxy learned that advancement isn't a single path. Sometimes the old ways, the primitive ways, are exactly what's needed. As the council members filed out, shaken by the revelation of their vulnerability, Walker received another update from the Wraith. Earth's hidden fleet remained on station, silent and vigilant, ready to enforce the peace they'd fought so hard to achieve. The stars had learned to fear humanity's lesser armada. Now they would learn to respect it. Joint Fleet Command Center, New Earth Station. 6 months after the Crystalline City Summit, Admiral Walker stood before the massive viewing window of the newly constructed command center, watching as ships from across the galaxy conducted joint maneuvers. The sight would have been unthinkable a year ago. Confederation energy ships practicing alongside Earth's stealth vessels, each learning from the other's strengths. Integration training is exceeding expectations, Commander Reynolds reported, holding up a data tablet. The Confederation crews are particularly interested in our electronic warfare techniques. Lieutenant Sullivan, now serving as Chief of Joint Operations, pulled up the latest statistics on the main display. Piracy is down 98% in monitored sectors. The combined fleet's effectiveness is 4 times higher than either force operating alone. Walker nodded, remembering the fierce debates that had preceded this moment. The Confederation's military leadership had initially resisted any suggestion of adopting primitive tactics. But after the Crystalline City revelation, reality had forced their hand. Admiral Vexicon's ship is approaching, Sullivan announced. He's early for the demonstration. Walker smiled. Her former adversary had become one of the strongest advocates for the new combined doctrine after seeing it in action. Today's demonstration would showcase just how far they'd come. The doors slid open, and Admiral Vexicon entered, his crystalline form now glowing with a steady, respectful blue. Admiral Walker, your crews have been teaching mine some fascinating tricks with sensor shadows. Just as yours have shown us new applications for energy shielding, Walker replied. Shall we begin the demonstration? The main display activated, showing a massive debris field where the Joint Fleet was conducting exercises. As they watched, a simulated pirate force approached the area, their advanced ships moving with confident precision. What happened next demonstrated the revolution in space warfare. Confederation energy ships engaged the pirates head-on, their weapons blazing brilliantly. But this was merely a distraction. Earth vessels, hidden in the debris field, launched synchronized strikes from multiple vectors. The pirates' shields, calibrated against energy weapons, never detected the kinetic rounds that shattered their formation. Beautiful, Vexcon commented. My tactical officers still can't believe how effective simple rocks can be when accelerated to relativistic speeds. While my crews are amazed by the targeting capabilities of your energy weapons, Walker added, the key was never about which technology was superior. It was about using everything available to us. The demonstration continued, showing new hybrid tactics. Earth ships used Confederation energy shields to extend their stealth capabilities. Confederation vessels employed modified nuclear engines for silent running. Stealth drones carried energy weapons, while energy ships launched kinetic projectiles. The Merchant Guilds report complete satisfaction with the new escort protocols, Sullivan interjected. The combination of visible deterrence and hidden protection has virtually eliminated successful raids. Walker turned to face the assembled staff. This is what we fought for. Not dominance, but evolution. The galaxy thought advancement meant following a single technological path. We proved that real progress comes from diversity. In thinking, in tactics, in technology. A lesson my people needed to learn, Vexcon admitted. We had become complacent in our superiority. Your lesser armada showed us that true strength lies in adaptation. The main screen shifted to show the graduation ceremony at the new Joint Fleet Academy. Young officers from Earth stood alongside crystalline cadets, each learning both technological paths. They would form the core of a new generation of space warfare specialists, combining the best of both worlds. The pirates called us primitives, Walker mused. The Confederation called us barbarians, but we were something else entirely. We were innovators, adapting old solutions to new problems. And now the galaxy is stronger for it. As if to emphasize her point, a new class of hybrid vessel passed by the viewing window. It combined Earth's stealth technology with Confederation energy weapons, a physical symbol of their successful integration. To the future, Vexicon offered. To evolution, Walker replied, watching as the joint fleet continued their maneuvers against the backdrop of stars. The galaxy had learned to fear Earth's lesser Armada. Now it would learn from it, growing stronger through the combination of all paths to advancement. In the vastness of space, humanity's primitive solutions had not just earned them a place among the stars. They had revolutionized humanity's understanding of progress itself. The age of technological arrogance was over. The era of infinite possibility had begun.